Hi, my name is A.G. Harrison, and today I'll be presenting on the archaeological film titled Malaya's Strange Chiselings from 1958. I will be analyzing it with respect to the theme of colonial archaeology in Southeast Asia during the 1950s, and specifically I'll be studying how these colonial and imperial themes show up in the film through analyzing the overall feel and purpose of the film, through looking at how different people are portrayed in the film with respect to field hierarchies, looking at main actors in the film and learning more about them through outside research, and finally by comparing aspects of this film to other relevant case studies. So just to quickly introduce the film itself, it essentially summarizes an archaeological excavation of an ancient Malayan royal tomb, and it takes place near Mount Jirai, which is right here in Malaysia. So some more context regarding this film. The dig itself was sponsored by the University of Malaya, led by Alastair Lamb, and looking into the university itself, it was founded and ran by British men rather than Malaysian people, with the founder of the university being Malcolm MacDonald, who I'll discuss later. This film happens during a time of growing anti-colonial sentiment on campus from the Malaysian student body, with leftist ideals such as socialism and communism being promoted, as this is happening during the context of the Cold War. Because of this, the government begins to suppress dissent with surveillance and censorship. Through this background information, and from what I've learned in this class, some of the assumptions I have going into the film are that it will fit within the colonial narrative of promoting nationalistic and capitalistic goals. For the intended audience of the film, it's going to be the general public, as this film has a clear non-academic tone with interstitial titles, such as this one saying The Big Dig. Additionally, the use of music throughout this film emphasizes the entertainment purposes. For example, opening with themes of discovery, having themes of suspense when the laborers have to be careful, and finally heroic themes upon the discovery of the royal tomb. I argue that this archaeological film's primary goal is to promote colonialism, which results in capital gain and furthering of nationalistic efforts through the idealization and romanticization of the colonial archaeological dig. And I argue that this is analogous to Emily Martin's article about the egg and the sperm, which argues that the story of fertilization and conception is heavily influenced by gender role stereotypes and themes, with the aim of further solidifying these themes. Likewise, this film is both influenced by and promoting colonialism and white supremacy in the name of science and cultural appreciation. And I argue that the finding and uncovering of the royal urn, especially after bravely hacking through the treacherous jungle, is very similar to the idea of the heroic sperm meeting the docile egg, in the ways that these narratives justify settler colonialism for the film and gender role stereotypes for the article. So some evidence for my central argument is the control of the archaeological dig site by white men, namely Alastair Lamb and previously Quaritch Wales, who exert epistemological control over the site and over local workers. In the next shot, you can see a white man leading a group of Malaysian people, with the overall body language signifying his superiority over them.
The mystery of the chiseled stones. These strange marks near Kedar Peak.
The film also depicts white men in positions requiring higher intellect, such as sketching a recreation of the royal tomb, as shown here.
To reconstruct in a drawing the outline of the temple as it was, 25 to 30 feet high, with a steep stone roof.
Additionally, the general lack of women in this film implicitly supports ideas of male supremacy, which is viewed by many as being linked to colonialism. Regarding the overall language of the film, what the narrator says helps create an atmosphere of exploration, wonder, and innocence. This is very similar to ideas of colonialism, going back to figures such as Christopher Columbus. Stories about him discuss how he sailed the ocean blue and discovered the Americas, yet they often say little of the horrors he committed, such as the enslavement and massacring of indigenous people. The film uses words such as, quote, mystery, strange, ruins, and overgrown with jungle to describe the site in Malaysia, later discussing, quote, the ritual of temple building. On the other hand, when discussing Europeans, the film uses qualifications such as, quote, Mr., a famous archaeologist, or a team from the Archaeological Society of the University of Malaya to describe their team. The film also uses words such as expedition, rediscover, and thrill to describe the archaeological process, promoting both overall excitement and justifications for the dig, which serve to distract people from potential harm being done, and justify colonial processes. The use of differing language for describing European and Malaysian people, sites, and processes further reinforces a dichotomy that is used to justify colonial archaeology in the area. Next, we visit the question of science or exploitation through analyzing key figures involved in the dig. Firstly, we can see that many of the leaders and archaeologists mentioned in or involved with the film have sold many artifacts and figures for monetary gain, which can be viewed as exploitative and possibly a reason for them supporting colonial rule. This includes Quaritch Wales, who was introduced as the famous archaeologist who initially studied the site. He was said to have brought back Siamese and Khmer artifacts from other projects to sell to wealthy collectors in London, with how he came into possession of them being unknown. Malcolm MacDonald, the founder of the University of Malaya, also collected archaeological artifacts from all over the world, selling some to a museum in one instance to be able to buy a house. These examples go back to the idea of colonialism for capital gain, as discussed before. However, there are some significant counterarguments to the role of these figures in Western colonialism in Southeast Asia, with Malcolm MacDonald having played a central role in the decolonization of the British Empire, having, quote, done more for Southeast Asia than perhaps any other living person. Quaritch Wales, on the other hand, wrote a book titled Years of Blindness, which critically examined Western conceptions of Southeast Asian culture and society, arguing that the colonial Western framework for understanding Southeast Asia failed to recognize valid indigenous forms of governance and cultural traditions. To conclude, the archaeological film Malaya, Strange Chiselings is a film that is both a result of colonialism and a film that promotes colonialist viewpoints, as seen through the use of music, titles, language, body language, and dynamics at the archaeological dig site, the result of which is a support of nationalism and capital gain. However, the true nature of the situation is much more complex than simply colonial evils oppressing a community, as some of the key figures involved in the film are championed as decolonizers with huge positive impacts, such as the leader of the sponsoring university, Malcolm MacDonald. The end. Yay! Alright, so for my citations, the first citation is the archaeological film itself, Malaya, Strange Chiselings. The next one is where I got my information about the University of Malaya, where they talked about anti-colonial sentiment and like the university kind of oppressing and stuff and like censoring. Let's see. The next citation is about the political use of archaeology in Southeast Asia, and described archaeology as a nationalistic practice in that quote on the page with Napoleon. And then this next one is the egg and the sperm one that I already discussed in good detail. Let's see. This one gave me information on Quaritch Wales, and this one gave me information on Malcolm MacDonald. And then finally, this is Quaritch Wales' book, Years of Blindness. Lastly, this citation gave me information about Christopher Columbus and what he did. And this is the source where I got the quote from Harold Macmillan about Malcolm MacDonald.